Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Making of Smiling Code.
Yeah. Number two.
I'm Ashley Lopez.
I'm Chloe Emery.
And we're going to talk about some more behind the scenes.
So this is going to be our third episode.
Oh my
talking
goodness.
about opening this office this week. And as we mentioned in the first episode, we breezed right through it.
We really did.
We have so much footage and stuff of this office, and we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It's only been 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm like,
oh, yes.
So back to Styling Company. In our last episode, we talked about your financing for it, so you're finding location, getting everything buttoned up. You also had mentioned, though, with this being your second location, you didn't have like any grace period on repayment of this loan, so it started straight away.
When
Right?
the building closed is
Yeah, you started paying. How long did it take to build this office?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. So there was a lot that happened in that 2 years, and you're already paying back these loans. So let's just kind of go back to the beginning of what was happening once you owned this building. You have talked in the previous episodes, and we're saying it's like the first one, that you saw this space and you just instantly could envision what it was going to look like. And I don't know that we've talked about what you actually did, and you drew up your own floor plan.
I did.
Literally
Literally,
the
I
whole
drew it.
thing.
I drew it up on, I stuck printer paper. I put like 6 of them. I taped them. And then I made a big floor plan with the probably not so realistic measurements of the building. But I had a general idea of what I.
And I don't even know that I know the answer to this, but does it look pretty much just like what you had in the original one? Because I've seen no one redrew it like on the blueprint.
Yes.
But is it pretty to that?
It's pretty to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, with an actual architect drawing it.
Yeah.
But no, it's so I think you're going to ask me about this. You want to ask me?
No,
You
go
use
for it.
an architect. I use
Well,
an architect.
Yeah.
I'm going to interview myself. So I used an architect for the second location, and I knew I wanted to because there were lots of things that I could do myself with the first location, but the Folsom building is a lot smaller. So a lot smaller of a scale. I didn't have to do a lot of like architectural details, but with this office, because of the height, so I think we have
Very tall.
it's like 18 feet.
What? I don't know.
So like 15 feet. It is very tall ceilings. And if I didn't have an architect to really plan like the scope of like drop ceilings and what is that going to look and feel like, because you don't want to just go into an office and think it's like a cave.
Yeah.
Some cavernous space that feels really cold. I was like, okay, we're going to do this. We own the building. Let's actually invest in a proper dental architect.
Gotcha. Who did your floor plans for the first location? You did that yourself as
Yes.
well? You didn't have a vendor draw it up for you?
I did.
Okay.
And I didn't like it.
Okay. So
And then I drew it myself.
got you. Okay. And like the architect firm that you hired, they were dental specific. And the contractor that you also hired, GC, is the same one from Folsom.
Yes.
And he is also dental
Medical.
Okay. Can you kind of walk me through maybe just the differences between having like an architect do it versus like a GC helping you with the floor plan as well? Like, what do you see? You talked about the ceilings, obviously, but like, what else for someone listening would be the benefit of either or combining the two?
One, expense.
Okay.
So if this is your first rodeo and you are a startup, I don't think that hiring a separate architect is needed.
Okay.
In fact, I would probably discourage you because it's a lot. They charged per square foot. We ended up spending tens of thousands of dollars on just the drawings, the design.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's needed. Okay, basically.
Because your GC can do
the
same thing.
He can do all the electrical drawings, mechanical. He was a one-stop shop in the first one. So I just gave him the floor plan that I created, and then he made it into actual buildable floor plan. And then with the architect, there was one, besides the expense, there's a lot of detail. And the detail isn't just this is where your opportunity is going to be, this is where your toilet's going to be. This is like down to what types of handles, like pools, custom, what is it called? The millwork. So the cabinetry. He designed all of that. And then he worked closely with my GC. And in fact, in the beginning, so Dave, because he is a design build firm, he wasn't too excited about working with an architect. He's like, Ashley, I don't know. I worked with some architects in the past. I don't think it's needed. I think it's almost too many cooks in the kitchen. But I was like, no, Dave, like, he's really good. And the spaces that he designed are just gorgeous. So Dave reluctantly agreed because I'm the client. And in the end, Dave like raved about Philly. Philly Bay.
Okay, so an architect firm also helps you decorate and design as well.
They will
Not decorate, but you're talking about the finishes and the lit.
Yes.
Whereas the first location you had your DC and you have to help you design.
Right.
I
have a separate interior designer. Who was actually recommended by Dave. So they did a few different little offices together, and she amazing. But it's probably a source of like that I didn't ask her to design my own.
But you wouldn't do that if you had an architect as well, right?
Right.
You don't need. No, that's combining that.
Yes, that's combining that, and we had a separate. So my architect is based out of Denver. So Brian and I flew to Denver for the weekend, met with the architect. This was after, let's go back to the floor plan. Because working with the architect, he had multiple iterations of the floor plan. So I didn't give him what I thought I wanted yet. I wanted to see what they would come up with for the space.
Oh, so you didn't give him your stick?
Not yet.
Construction paper.
No, not yet. I wanted to see what they would come up with. And if I like theirs better, then I would have just stuck with theirs. So they had a few different iterations, and I basically kiboshed all of theirs. I'm like, well, that's just not, it's not what I'm going for. So then I ended up giving him my floor plan, and then they built it.
They're like, we can just go this way.
Yeah. We want them to feel included in the process. No, but it So, and again, if you already know what you want in a space, you definitely don't need to hire a separate architect. But we did, after we had the floor plan nailed, and you like sign off on that you're not going to change anymore, because then they're going to start the actual electrical renderings. Then we flew out to Denver, and that was for the almost like a sneak peek. They sit us in their little basement area, and then they do a 3D walkthrough, which was super cool. So prior to that, I created a Pinterest page, and I basically said, like, this is my motivation. I want it to be neutrals, blacks, like super like clean line. And then they came up with the design.
And I have a video from that Denver trip, and I have a video of your little 3D walkthrough things. I'll start posting them so you everyone can see it. But it's actually really cool. Okay, so Felipe and your architect, they did all the like blueprints for electrical, plumbing, everything.
Yes.
And they gave that to Dave, your general contractor.
Yes.
Okay. And then Dave is the one actually has to do all the work though.
Yeah. Oh, backtrack just for a second. Because I had already worked and loved Dave, my GC. I didn't bid out for multiple different contracts. So I guess one thing that would be an advantage is if you did work with an architect, they're already putting a bid together that is very detailed. so that when you bid it out to the different contractors,
Mhm.
you're going to get apples to apples comparison so that you can judge accordingly how to choose who to go with
Okay.
rather than guessing willy nilly and then having a bunch of change orders because this wasn't a part of your original design.
Got you. Okay. So you didn't go, I would say, the traditional route, having a vendor do a floor plan for you.
No.
You didn't hire any other,
I'm sorry, that was not emphatic.
we look for vendors, but they're not to just take that.
Yeah.
Cookie cutter.
They're cookie cutter. They're also not very built for efficiency
Yeah.
either.
Yeah. I know. Anyways, there are also other dental companies out there that help draw floor plans
Yes.
as well.
Mhm.
And I believe you actually had someone look at it for you,
Yes,
correct?
I did.
What did they think of your drawing?
Oh, they didn't like it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, because their whole thing, their whole
Model?
yeah, their whole model is designing the most efficient
Okay.
practice. And for me, that it didn't really jive with me because this isn't like this location
Yeah.
isn't like a mill.
Right.
I'm not going off of volume.
Yeah.
Let's squeeze out all the juice in this lemon and put in so many operatories and all of that. Like I know that I like doing very long cases like cosmetic rehabs. And I wanted a whole separate cosmetic wing. And if you look at my floor plan, the entire left side is basically my office and my cosmetic studio.
Yeah.
So a patient who is getting that procedure done, they have a little living room. We have a little refrigerator for their snacks. They have their own private bathroom. And then I have a photo studio on that wing as well.
Mhm.
So it feels almost like it could be two different offices within Smile & Co. Dental Studio,
Mhm.
Smile Design Studio. And that was intentional. And he didn't understand that.
Got you.
Yeah.
You just knew what you wanted.
I did.
Very different.
Yeah, all of it.
You obviously knew what you really wanted from the very first time you saw it inside of this place, because that's exactly what you ended up getting.
Yeah.
Hey friends, I just want to give some love to Net32 for supporting this episode. If you're a practice owner like me, you know the back end of running a dental office isn't always sexy, but it is necessary. Net32 is an online marketplace where you can compare brands, vendors, and prices all in one place. That means you're not overpaying or wasting time. And when you're building a startup or juggling multiple practices, every dollar and every minute matters. I've used Net32 and it's honestly made a huge difference. Check them out at net32.com/the making of. And now let's get back to the show.
Okay, so speaking of the two different teams that you have, the architect and your GC, do you communicate? Are you the middleman with them? Do they communicate with each other? Like, how does that trio work?
No, they were
Keeping.
they were so great at communicating with each other.
Okay.
Because a lot of their terminology is way over my head. I'm like, no, whatever you guys do, you're the expert. And we did a walkthrough before the drywall went up.
Mhm.
And that was meeting with everybody, like flooring, electrical, IT was here. They were talking about where to put the drops and
Okay.
mapping out, like making sure that everything according to the architectural scope was actually going to happen in the building itself. And that is when, if you've been listening to the Making of Evelina Smiles, I talked about how they wanted to kibosh my herringbone
Yeah.
pattern. And they also did the same thing to Rich. They're like, herringbone is going to be not feasible with the type of flooring we chose. And having Felipe here telling the flooring guy, like, no, we've done this in multiple offices with the same exact LVP. He was like, oh, okay. And sure enough, I have a very complicated story.
Yeah.
I did not make it easy on this build team. My office, I feel grateful every time I walk in it. It really is like stunning. If I just say so, it's so beautiful.
I just live in this space, honestly. I wish my house looked like this. but we're here after
having this new happy inside. And because my 3 boys are
okay. It's quiet here. Okay, so in this meeting, like you said, you had your GC, all the subcontractors, the lead architect was here as well.
Yes.
And they all did that meeting together. Now, if there was a problem during the build, they would communicate with each other, but then who would tell you?
Oh, I would be CC'd on email
And everything.
But they also had each other's cell phones, so they were in constant communication.
Got you. Okay. What was my next question?
You were pointing out like some things that were surprising.
Oh, right. Yes. Because you would think you have an architect, you have your GC, all the drawings, all the things should be pretty easy. And well, maybe that is the case if you're a standalone building, but since you're not and you're attached to a whole other building, I mean, they had a condo in this section of the building off that's your off. Yeah. So what were the surprises? I know what they were, but I'm not.
So this building is a standalone building, but it was originally designed for one cohesive business. It is an event planning place. The weddings, they're still there.
Yeah.
And they just also, I think they took on this side. But they ended up, it was like COVID. They ended up shutting down half of it. And then when I purchased it, the building hadn't necessarily been completely separated. So I had the floor plan of a building that wasn't fully two units yet. And then later on, they discovered like, hey, we can't run there are lots of things like the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi currently to this day is in the building next door.
It's on the other side.
So, and on the other side of the wall. So when we have to reset, Judy has to go next door and ask them to reset the button.
Yes.
Which is so annoying.
It's really bizarre.
It's really bizarre. Yeah.
There was also like a wall or something that poor Judy, also in Judy's that could not be removed.
Yeah.
It's load bearing. It had some wires in it that couldn't transfer it over.
Yes.
So you had to redesign her office.
I had to freaking put this little pony wall or whatever. It's so not
bizarre.
It's bizarre.
We'll add a picture.
We'll add a picture of it. It's because we're jutting of a wall and it, for whatever reason, could not be.
And that wasn't even discovered until a lot of the stuff had already been done. And it was kind of too late to change other things around.
So I think the next door people, I think a lot of their Wi-Fi is actually in that wall.
Oh,
it's like wires in the wall. And they said if we wanted to remove that, I think this is ringing a bell.
Okay.
If we wanted to remove that, we would have to pay to get it over to redo all of their wiring and put it on their system, which would be a very expensive money.
Yeah. This is ringing a bell too. I feel like it's kind of something you just try to forget about. I coming in one time too, and there was something weird with like wires. It probably got something to do with those wires, and the firewall were not completely done, and they couldn't like seal it off correctly because the wires that were coming back and forth between the two spaces. Do you remember this?
I
know.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I feel like I've blocked out a lot of little things. Well, do you remember when we did a walkthrough and they laid down where the chair?
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
So when you buy the equipment, we already talked about any of that stuff. You gotta buy equipment, but I think this episode is just gonna be floor plans. Okay. But we'll talk about this. When you buy equipment and you have your vendors come in and they're trying to figure out where everything's gonna go because they have to cut into your ground.
Yes, I mean
they cut in after they've already done the floors. I don't remember.
There was already like they do the troughing, for like the water and all of that. But then they will put like a print,
it's like a
template of the chair, where it's going to go in the actual room.
Yes.
And then the way that the architect, I think, initially laid out the chair, it was right against almost like 6 inches away from the wall.
Yes. On the
assistant side. So there would be no room for an assistant.
They're
Like that assistant could never gain weight.
that is just it's staying there. It's staying there to get there. Because no, that. Yeah, I remember seeing that on the floor in the ring. That is not the motto, guys. I don't know who you think is supposed to be there, but no. So yeah, little things like that. This is kind of just all of it for this episode. But I was going to ask you. We talked about you paying back these loans, and it took a very long time for this construction. Is there like something looking back now that was like the most stressful for you? Seeing everything being built, can you pinpoint one moment of like, oh gosh, this is taking longer? Or
I think before we started construction, one thing that we were not prepared for was the building permit costs with the city of Roseville. In Folsom, when it opened up, it was like a few grand to start building.
yeah,
For the permit. In the city of Roseville, it was $71,000. Which, if you're not budgeting that,
yeah,
like it's a freaking permit, a piece of paper that says you are able to build.
if I like the real estate guy should have heard driver, if he should have known. Or
I
like
to don't.
so do you recommend maybe a sort of block like finding out from their city
Yes.
before
Yes,
buying a place or leasing a place?
I think going to your chamber of commerce, going to your just where your city does all of their stuff, having someone say or having like a connection there,
Yeah.
to walk you through like what does a fictitious building permit cost?
Okay.
What is the bare minimum needed to get started with a brick and mortar dental office?
Yeah.
I think would always be smart.
Yeah. It's all about you now, right? One other thing, just piece of advice for any doctors listening. You did the interior designer, the GC routes, you did architects, GC. Which way do you just recommend? Like you mentioned not doing an architect in the beginning. So do you recommend just a GC and like an interior design or
See, that's hard.
I know.
That's hard because I know that I wouldn't have come up with the level of detail that the architect did. So if you can swing it, I loved working with my architect. I think, and if you own the building, okay, that's a key. If you're not renting your space and could potentially hate your landlord 5 years from now or get kicked out or whatever, then no, I think it's overkill.
Okay.
But if you are doing a ground up construction, if you purchase the building, if you know you are in it for the long haul, put some love into it because you're going to love walking into your space every day. And it's something that I'm just so grateful for every time I come to Roseville.
I think that's great advice. Yeah, the difference between like leasing a space or buying a space makes a big difference for sure. Huge. All right, my dear, that's all I have for you. And then next time we can talk about maybe just some of the actual design stuff that went into place.
Yeah. Design,
So much of it. Equipment, all the things.
we can even release the parts of that video that we did. Remember when they sent all the samples?
Oh yeah, I didn't really follow this. I'll tag them.
Yeah.
Those
All right.
right. Thank you.
Well, thanks for listening. Tune in next time and we'll get to more behind the scenes of the making our slide.
Bye.
Bye.
$250,000. That's how much the average dental practice loses every year to empty chairs, no-shows, last-minute cancellation, gaps that just sit there. Casper's Opportunity Finder constantly checks your schedule and sees every gap the second it opens and helps your team fill it with one single click. And for every Open Dental user, it's completely free. Go to meetcasper.com/register to download it today because profit isn't the opposite of purpose. It's what funds it.